Thank you for joining us for this week's edition of Southwest Connections, our campus-based show that introduces you to the many great people who make SMSU the wonderful place it is. I'm the host of our show, Bill Malso. Let's meet our guest for this week. Hi, Jay. Welcome.
Hello.
Happy to have with us today Jefferson Lee, goes by Jay. Jay's the Director of Access, Opportunity, and Success, Multicultural Services, and Mustang Pathway. So you might have the longest title of anybody on campus. So.
Yes. So.
Well, Jay, let's learn a little bit about you. A proud alum. Tell us a little bit about what brought you to Southwest, and actually both times, what brought you back.
Okay. Well, that coming back is probably the most interesting story. Really, I was going to school at Roosevelt High School, graduated in 1988. Dr. Dave Simpson was out recruiting at the time. Southwest State at the time was trying to diversify the campus a little bit. So he came out, and there was about, I think, 7 of us that initially came to Southwest. I originally was not planning to go to college, and so it's the only school I applied to. Got into a situation with my father and thought, better go to college. So I ended up at Southwest. Earlier I told Jim it was fate. Outside of that, I'm originally from Minneapolis. Grew up in a family with very religious family. My father's a minister. My grandfather's a minister on both sides. So spent a lot of time in church. But I came out to Southwest. I found it as a place that I could exist, and I had a lot of support, and that's one of the main reasons why I stayed. That is the main reason why I stayed here.
And you were fortunate to come here to Southwest and make a career of it and raise your family here in Marshall. So tell us a little bit about your background and what got you into student affairs.
Well, I came here when I was in high school. I was in an Upward Bound program. And as one of the struggles I had at Southwest was just not having the support that I needed, I ran into Marilyn Leach. That's a story in itself. One day I was writing a paper and I needed help with my paper. I needed access to a computer. So I actually walked to her house and knocked on the door, and she allowed me to use her computer. From there, she was the director. I say that because she's the director of the TRIO program at the time, Student Support Services. And through that interchange and having an opportunity as a student to use those services, then in turn working as a student employee in student affairs, it just is something that I gravitated to. I was one of those students that needed that service that I'm providing now. So it came kind of natural for me to do something like that.
So I mentioned you got a long title. So we're going to talk about each of those areas a little bit and just trying to explain to people what some of the things are that you provide and
Okay.
the students you try and serve. So the first one being Access, Opportunity, and Success, or AOS as we call it. Tell us a little bit about that program and the students that you're here to serve.
So AOS, Access, Opportunity, Success, is a state-funded program out of the Men's State Office. It serves the same population as TRIO did, with the exception of takes out the students with disabilities. So it's first generation, low income, and students of color. So if a parent has not graduated with a 4-year degree, a student would be eligible to take advantage of those services. Likewise, if a student received a Pell Grant, he, she, or they would also have an opportunity. And the last characteristic or qualifier would be to identify as a student of color. And what we provide in that program is support services. It's TRIO best practices. So there's tutorial services, there's living learning communities, we have a scholars program. We also help with advising in the first 2 years. We like to call it intrusive advising. Oftentimes, your professor is advising to the major and doesn't really, unless there's a real relationship built, doesn't necessarily look at the things that makes a student click. Does he or she, or they like to get up in the morning? Are they an evening person? Are they strong in math? Are they strong in writing? And sometimes it's balancing that out to make sure that student is more successful. So primarily it is a support services program. We serve, again, like I said, first generation, low income, and students of color.
So are you out actively recruiting those students, or are you more so identifying them when they're here on campus and trying to make sure that we can reach out to them?
Well, that's kind of twofold. Most of our students come from the students that have already applied to Southwest and have been admitted. So the prior TRIO program, we could not recruit students. With Access, Opportunity, Success, we can recruit students. So I have gone out on recruiting trips for Southwest Minnesota State and shared this program with the various high schools and students that we interact with. But primarily our students come from those that are already enrolled and admitted.
So you're working primarily with the admission office to identify these students. Do you also work with students that are already here, say maybe they've been in a year? Did they come into your program beyond that freshman year, or are you primarily focused on identifying first-year students?
Our target population is that first-year student and trying to establish and get them acclimated in that first 2 years. There are a number of students that are in that transition and have not found their niche somewhere else or support service somewhere else that tend to find their way to us as well.
So one of the other programs that has been very successful and you've run for a number of years, I know, is Summer Bridge program. Tell us a little bit about the Summer Bridge and what that program does for students.
The exciting thing about Summer Bridge is it gives a student the opportunity to come on campus 3 weeks early and enroll in 8 credits that are tuition free. And they pay the fees, but they don't pay the tuition on those credits. And I think it's important that people understand that that program is the brainchild, if you will, of Dr. Cowan and Marilyn Leach. And so I got involved with that program because the year that she had that accident, and Marilyn was a very good friend of her. Marilyn just pretty much said, "This is the idea. I want you to see it through." So I began by going out and sitting in homes in Minneapolis and meeting with students and parents and saying, "This is what we have," and people bought into it. Again, they come on campus 3 weeks early. They're enrolled in 8 credits. One of them that I've added later was the fitness piece, the weight training conditioning, because we were finding that our athletes weren't doing it because they wanted to work out. And so that was the disconnect. Ultimately, what this program does is it gives a student a chance to get acclimated to college, meet some great friends, meet some professors, and understand how to be successful in college.
So much of getting a great start at college is just finding people that you can relate with and kind of have, if you will, a cohort that you can connect with right away. And I think that's a great program to get started. And you've got some friends right away instantly. So
and built-in study partners.
Yeah, absolutely. Hope you can be accountable. So one of the other things that AOS also sponsors is a living and learning community. We talked about having study partners and that kind of things. Tell us a little bit about the living and learning community and what that program is all about.
But that's another TRIO best practices program, and when we started Summer Bridge, we found that we needed to have an environment where students can come in and have, if you will, a cohort of individuals that they got along with, they understood. Now, these students have a room to themselves, but there is such a community that it doesn't matter that the students don't have roommates. So they spend a lot of time in the lounge together, they go to different events on campus together, and we encourage that type of activity, as well as we do several, they call it Achieve meetings, and in those Achieve meetings, we meet once a month, I want to say, and the students are introduced to inspirational speakers, financial planning, note-taking strategies, time management, everything to help those students be successful. So I'm real proud of the concept that although they're living in our residential halls, they're still getting that added touch to make sure that because they'll take university experience in their first semester sometimes, and those tools and strategies aren't necessarily highlighted continuously. And those are the things we try to do within that living learning community.
And living and learning communities are not unique just to AOS. As you mentioned, it's a best practice. Yes. And it helps students from a retention standpoint, and SMSU offers a number of them. And if I start listing, I'll forget, but I know we offer some in the culinology and hospitality area. I believe at one point there was ag, fine arts, fitness. So there's an opportunity for students to connect immediately with like students and kind of have that built-in support network as they kind of go thing.
Don't forget the what do you call it? The Mustang
Mustang Traditions.
Yes.
Yeah, the young alumni. That's a real fun one too that we see active on campus. So another new program, relatively new program that was started under the leadership of President Jaya Surya is the Mustang Pathway program. Share with us the mission of Mustang Pathways and how your program works with that and how it's designed to work.
Yes. So really excited about that program as well. Just the idea that the president allowed us to bring a program to close the academic gap for primarily students of color and male students is kind of, when you look at Equity 2030 and the academic educational gap, there's a broader gap for males of color and students of color. However, the beautiful thing about that program is anyone pretty much is eligible for that program that have not been able to gain admission to a four-year university on a regular status, if you will. So we focus on students that have that lower GPA to the cutoff mark to what be a regular admission, if you will, to the university. Primarily, they're students that have had life-changing situations. Some of them have had parents that have moved because of jobs, so they're moving multiple times, and they weren't able to fit into the school systems, or just the school systems were different. We all know when young people move in new situations, it's changing, it's hard. Others may have experienced a breakup in the family, or so what we're talking about is we believe that these students we let into this program, we enroll into this program, are students that have academic ability, but because of life situations, were unable to prove that in their early years. Many of them, you'll see a not so great start, but a great finish, or you'll see just that ebb and flow in their academics. And so once they're on campus, they're here for 5 weeks. They take part in 2 developmental courses. If they complete those courses with C's or better, we then enroll them at Southwest Minnesota State and provide them with a housing scholarship. And so that's the gist of the program. That's how it provides a lot of support to those students and gives them a fresh start to their academic and a good start on life.
And I think one of the great things about this program, too, is that we've been able to privately fund it. So these students get a start in this program with little or no financial obligation before they actually enroll as a full-time student. So,
well, it's actually free, and that's the great part about what President Jaya has put together, and that he's offering this free program to these students where many of these students have a problem in their latter academic career because they've had to take those developmental courses taken away from their financial aid. And so we've eliminated that and provided access, and that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. So Jay, another part of your work is that of Intercultural Services, and for those that maybe aren't familiar with what that means, tell us a little bit about what that role means for you across the entire SMSU campus.
So Intercultural Services, a lot of people know as Office of Diversity and Inclusion, and our job there, I would say our primary target population is that of students of color. But I always say that I welcome everybody in our area. We provide programming that is cross-sectional, cross-cultural, and what we do is we work with professors on campus to bring in speakers. We work with student organizations to bring in activities that are relevant to their ethnic or cultural norms. We're a go-to the campus for just those different services that provide a diverse window into our campus community. I tell people, it's funny, I go to the registration days, and it's funny because a lot of people will have that conversation, so I ask people to raise their hand who all knows what LEFSA is. And so they'll raise their hand, and then I'll ask them about Lutefisk. And so not many raise their hand on Lutefisk liking Lutefisk, but the idea is to let everyone know that our office is there for everyone, regardless if the mission is to bring a level of preparedness, self-belonging to our campus and a place where students of color can go. I welcome and we welcome everybody on campus.
So let's look at the broader community of Marshall a little bit. The City of Marshall recently established a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee here, kind of to really enhance some of the initiatives that we've had focused on those 3 key areas of diversity, equity, and inclusion. I know you're an important part of that. Tell us a little bit about that role and some of the early impacts that you've seen with that committee here in Marshall.
So I've had the opportunity. I was honored to be one of the individuals to help start the DEI Commission under the direction of Mayor Bob Burns. Burns.
Yeah,
I said
yeah.
Burns. And our goal is to make sure that we as a community, and so we're trying to merge the Southwest Minnesota State, the city of Marshall, the region, to be a place where people feel comfortable and feel like they're part of the community. One of the goals is to get more, have a more diverse city council to make sure it's representative of those in our in our community. And when we talk about some of the things we've been able to do early on, is we've had the World Fest that took place. I think I said that right. And then also we've had some World Cafes that we're doing to really garner and get that information from our community members to find direction and figure out where we need to go. The one thing we don't want to do is assume that there is a service that we should be providing when it may end up being something else. And so we've been very intentional about making sure that we are doing some research, and I believe as we continue, we will start to implement some things. One thing we did last year was Welcome America. And so, and I'm sorry about this, Welcome America, and we partnered with the YMCA and some other organizations in the community, and different people were able to come in and just experience art and just different things so that we can just embrace and share culture and share each other and what we have to bring to the Marshall area.
And I think that's an important part of all of this, is just making sure voices are heard, or people feel like they can share their ideas, and because we don't know what we don't know, and this is a great opportunity to kind of keep those conversations going and try and create more awareness. So it's a good thing for the community. So Jay, you've worked in student services a long time. What are some of the biggest challenges that you see students facing today?
Ooh. Biggest challenges the elephant in the room that's not such an elephant is COVID-19, and that it's robbed a lot of students of opportunities that you and I had as college students or high school students. So understanding how to learn differently. Obviously, there's some financial barriers. There's also just cultural barriers that students have to deal with. Some students coming from rural areas, students coming from urban areas, and learning how to interact with one another, understand each other. The others is just honestly knowing that they can do it. Some students just have to have that student support, which I think we at Southwest State are really good at, providing student support and direction and solidifying those goals, those dreams, and helping them identify those.
You kind of started to answer my next question, but as things have changed, how have you seen SMSU change? What are some of the things that specifically we have done, you think, to help address a lot of these challenges?
Well, I think that we are looking at, again, let's talk about when I brought up learning strategies, learning styles, understanding cultural relevance in teaching, the MPP, Mustang Pathway program, providing access. A lot of the language now that I'm hearing that is very important and relevant is, I think we're an institution that meets students where they are, and we try to, when we fall short, we work harder at trying to meet students where they are, and I think that sets us apart from many other places.
So Jay, this is a pretty cool thing. This spring, you were recently named the 2022 recipient of the Cathy Cowan Award. And for those that don't know, the Cowan Award is really probably our most prestigious award that we make here on campus. And it really goes to honor Cathy and recognize those people who have committed themselves to service, not only to our students, but the community as a whole. And you're the recipient of that, well deserved. Going to put you on the spot a little bit and say, tell us a little bit about what that award means to you.
So I'm going to get through this, and I'm a teary guy sometimes. I'm going to try and get through this one. It means a lot from a couple of different standpoints. My mentor, Marilyn Leach, also received this award. Michelle Knight-Sterner, who works in my office, received this award. There's several others that have received this award that I truly respect and looked up to, and use as guidance, both as a student and professional. And so to be in that same group of people is very special to me. To know that people, and I'm not one that seeks accolades or even, I don't need people to tell me I did a great job all the time. But it's awesome when you get that award and people say, congratulations, you deserve it. So when you ask how does it feel, what do I think, it's humbling, it's overwhelming sometimes, and it's awesome.
Well deserved. So you mentioned a couple people that you've got the pleasure of working with, and I know you certainly want to address this, but you're part of a great team. Tell us a little bit about the team that you have in your area and some of their focus, areas of focus.
So Michelle Knife-Sterner is the Associate Director of our AOS Summer Bridge program, and she, again, I've been working with her, I think it's been 14 years. I'm gonna get myself in trouble, but I much respect, a lot of respect for what she does. I'm a firm believer that you should treat people the way you want to be treated, and more importantly, we're working with people's kids and children, students, and we should be treating them like we want our own students and children to be treated, and she embodies that, and that's important to me. As for Dr. Klein, Erin Klein, she's primarily works with the Mustang Pathway program. She helped with the getting it implemented and started, and she's been just great in that role. She's got a lot. Both of them have a lot of passion. I think she's the Energizer Bunny, and she doesn't stop. So all of our students that I've come across really enjoy working with these two ladies. I'm really blessed to have them in my office and a part of my staff and part of my team. I often say they're my boss. They keep me going. They make sure we're doing what needs to be done. So I really, really respect and appreciate them.
That's a great team you have over there. So Jay, one last question for you.
Okay.
And this is a tough one. I'm gonna put you on the spot one more time.
Okay.
If you could tell a prospective student and their family why SMSU is the best place for them, what would it be?
The best place for them, Southwest is the best place for a student because I know that if they commit to their dreams, they can achieve it.
Awesome. Thank you, Jay. A reminder that there are a lot of activities happening on campus as we wind up spring semester. It's a great opportunity to come check things out, meet with some faculty and staff. Our admission office is always willing to host visitors and show you around campus. So once again, thank you to our guest, Jay Lee, for joining us today. Thank you for watching this edition of Southwest Connections.